For more on the latest vaccine rollout, we are joined now by Moderna co-founder Noubar Afeyan, who is also the CEO at Flagship Pioneering. Noubar, it has been a long year, and obviously Moderna's vaccine has been a standout success, but we still have hundreds of millions of Americans who don't have it and many more around the world. I'd love to start, now that we are a year into this, with your thoughts on where we are and what the biggest challenges are for the vaccine rollout that you see ahead.
Well, Emily, thanks for having me again. Yes, it does seem like a very long year. In fact, here we are back in March, and it feels like we're stuck in March. A little bit, the feeling of time having frozen, I think has afflicted all of us. It's been a very tough year of personal loss, of economic loss, and yet it's been a pretty triumphant year in terms of science and collaboration coming forward with solutions such as the vaccines. And we have quite a lot of work yet to do. Clearly, the vaccine has been produced. We've got multiple alternatives. We have supplies that have been ramped up, certainly in the US, increasing day by day. And yet we need to make sure that the distribution is up to par to the availability, and that we get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible, even while we keep our sights on variants and other threats that continually have to be dealt with in order for us to truly contain this pandemic.
How much do you think vaccine misinformation on sites like Facebook has actually held the process back?
It's hard for me to quantify, but I'd say qualitatively, there's been a lot on social media, and I'd say even more broadly on media. There's just a lot of speculation that it's hard to tell apart how much of it has an agenda behind it and how much does not, and it blurs. But it definitely is the case that it's difficult to know who to trust and who to follow. Clearly, there are folks whose voices we've trusted. Certainly the government experts, health experts have been consistent in their advice, and our sense is that people need to follow the medical profession and the data far more than speculation and conspiracy theories.
Now, what is your reaction to several European countries, including the biggest European countries, temporarily suspending the AstraZeneca vaccine due to abnormal blood clotting? Do you think it should be permanently halted?
Emily, that would be impossible for me to comment on by virtue of what I just said, which is that it's very much a matter of data and facts as opposed to speculation. And I'll be the last person to add my speculation to it, because that's what that would be. People commenting on it generally don't have the facts. I have a lot of respect for our colleagues at AstraZeneca, and for that matter, everyone who's working on developing a vaccine, I think, is doing their utmost to share information and be able to deliver real solutions. But at the same time, we're going to learn a lot as the vaccine comes to the market, and as we detect certain things that we need to pursue them, wrestle them to the ground, and through a scientific method, be able to delineate that which is causally linked versus that which happens to be seen, but given the large numbers, cannot be linked to the vaccine. And until that's done, and I'm sure that the authorities are taking a cautious approach to doing just that, I think speculation is not helpful one way or the other. So I would say, under the current circumstances, I think everybody is maximally incented to ask the right questions in the right way, get some answers, and then make the right decisions. Everything else is going to just hurt people's lives, hurt their health, and we definitely should not engage in that.
All right, so let's talk about Moderna more specifically. Where do things stand in terms of regulatory approval to get more doses into a single vial, and how could that speed up the supply as you work to deliver more orders?
Well, Moderna has, over the last few weeks, said that working with the FDA and other regulators, we have, in fact, increased the doses per vial, which will simply afford for some more efficiency. We've also been announcing trials starting for a younger cohort, certainly the 12 to 18 range, even younger folks from 6 months on, beginning to be tested. And then we also have announced that we've just begun dosing the very first variant booster shots. That's yet a different a version of the vaccine. And then finally, just today, Moderna announced that we've also started testing a different version of the spike vaccine altogether called 1283. That is a more efficient from a storage standpoint, easier to handle, potentially a next generation version of our vaccine. So we have not, our R&D engine, albeit working on different issues than last year, which was all about, can we even make a vaccine in that time frame? Now we're working on multiple versions, multiple target audiences. We're doing everything we can to add to the armamentarium that we can deploy against this virus.
Meantime, I have 4 children, and every parent is wondering when children will be vaccinated. When do you expect your pediatric trial to read out the data? And can you give us any indication of what a shot for kids might look like? Could you get 2 in 1?
Emily, I don't want to get ahead of the company in the sense that obviously we are working hard to advance our program so that we can put out kind of more concrete information. We haven't yet done that. Certainly, we're working hard to make sure that we get vaccine for younger ages as soon as we can. It's probably not going to happen in the first half of this year, but we're working hard for that to be the case in the second half. And just as soon as we can run through the trials and assure safety and efficacy, as you've heard, I'm sure we are testing different doses because on the very young, it may be that a smaller dose may suffice. So we're working on all aspects of those questions and recognize, since many in the company have young children, that it's our responsibility to make sure we get absolutely everyone covered.
And then when it comes to your next generation vaccines, the South Africa strain, the UK strain, can you give us, I know I'm asking you very detailed questions, but can you give us any more detail on the timing of when we might see progress there?
You know, the FDA provided guidance saying that we're not going to be required to do the same kind of trial we had to do with the original vaccine, and that what's going to be important is to show neutralizing antibodies. That we expect we'll be able to see over the coming relatively short period of time. That's kind of counted in months, not many months. And once we have that data, and if we can show a robust production of antibodies, particularly to the strain, particularly the South African strain, then I think we'll be in a position to talk to regulators about the potential use of these as boosters. We expect that the original 1273 vaccine may be supplemented, if needed, by the booster. But I'll remind you that our data so far, after 2 doses of the original 1273 vaccine, and here we are a couple of months after it entered human use, talking about the original versus the next version, which is in and of itself, I think, quite an interesting dynamic, given the where we were a mere year ago, where we didn't even know what the virus is. But we definitely think that through a booster approach, we'll be able to continue the protection, adjust the protection, and again, get as many people covered against new threats as we can from this virus.
Okay, Noubar Afeyan, we've appreciated having these conversations with you over the last year. Thank you so much for joining us. Noubar Afeyan, co-founder of Moderna and the CEO of Flagship Pioneering.